that parents are under during this pandemic. But I also want to acknowledge that there has been a big shift in physical education. So the old way of physical education was really just about fitness. So what you may have already noticed, you're seeing your students do a little bit more other things in physical education. So we're really focused on knowledge and skills that connect three areas, which are the motor domain, the cognitive domain, and the social domain. So those three components are necessary to really help develop your children's physical literacy. So that's our new way of physical education. So how does that come into play now? And how does that come into play with our parents? Well, we're really trying to tap into all three domains right now during the pandemic more than ever so that we can increase their physical activity, but also increase their mental health and their social emotional learning. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that and recognize that we do have a shift taking place in physical education. So our ultimate goal is something called physical literacy. And I'm going to give it to you in three basic kind of terms. What it means is we're trying to raise students to be physically competent, confident, but also motivated, that they can be physically active for a lifetime, forever. And how does that come into play? Well, we need to do a few things. In order to motivate a student, we need to make sure it's fun. And typically for students, that means it's social. So right now, that's really difficult to do when we're doing it through Zoom or other online platforms. We have to motivate them so that they want to participate. So how do we do that? We need to make sure it's engaging. We need to teach them how to engage at home. So that's why I'm so happy to hear that parents are here and involved, because that's a great way to engage them, is with their family, their siblings, and sometimes within their own community. We really want to teach them what and why they need to be physically active. So the next part is confidence. This is really sometimes the missing piece. So if we have one missing piece, then we're lacking physical literacy. So to build confidence, we need to make sure that we're being inclusive and making sure that we're being appropriate. So we're recognizing successes and failures, that it's okay if we fail, but how do we improve and how do we try again? We want to appreciate everybody's differences and really provide a supportive learning environment. So this is physical literacy. This is what we're trying to achieve, whether your child's in kindergarten or whether they're in 12th grade and everywhere in between. When they leave high school, we want them to be a physically literate person so that they can participate in whatever they want for the rest of their life. So how do we achieve this? Well, there's something called building blocks. Nah, not Legos. We're talking about the building blocks of physical literacy, which can be in three categories. Something called body control, locomotor, object control. Body control is, I like to think of the components of dance, of movement, of agility, moving from one point to another. Yoga can come into play with body control. Locomotor is moving your body from one point to the next. And some of the examples could be running, jumping, swimming, and skating, and so on. Object control is usually has something to do with a ball or an object. Maybe you're throwing it, you're catching it, you're kicking it, you're striking it. Those are the three building blocks of any component of physical education and physical activity. So why am I talking about this and how does this connect to what we can do at home? I just wanted to show you this is our ultimate goal. So the perfect pair, the perfect partnership is the school and parents. That's how we're going to achieve physical literacy. So thank you so much for doing that. So how often should we be physically active? According to the Center for Disease Control, students from ages 6 to 17 years of age, we are supposed to be 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily. So aerobic, most of the 60 minutes per day should either be moderate to vigorous or even higher. And what that means is lots of sweating. Your students may be breathing hard. We want that to happen. Most of the 60 minutes per day should be where they're breathing heavy, they're sweating. Yeah, after they do that activity, they're going to want water. That's a good thing. Muscle strengthening, so we're talking about lifting weights or resistant bands, that should still be part of the 60 minutes or more of daily physical activity. Children and adolescents should include muscle strengthening physical activity at least 3 times per week. 3 times should be muscles, and every day we should get aerobic. When we're talking about bone strengthening, we really want to think about that with 3 days per week as well. And I'm going to give you some examples of these. So how do you as the parent, how do you as the guardian, and how do you as uncles and aunts and grandparents come into play? So this screen has 6 pictures that I just really thought was a great example of what I've seen out there. Right now, one of the most common popular things to do in the home is to create an obstacle course. Whether you have an elementary, middle school, or high school, obstacle course can work for all of them. And I'm going to give you specific examples, but I wanted to show you pictures and illustrate that you can use anything in your home, anything in your garage, anything in your backyard. And if you don't have a backyard, that's okay. Because guess what? We can do it inside our house or apartment or condo, whatever you live, it's all okay. So let's talk about some of these things. You can use household items to set up various obstacles or stations. Think of those 3 things. We have object control, which usually is with a ball or an object. We have locomotor, which is starting from one point to the second point. And then we have, the aerobic piece, right? Where we're trying to get them up and moving. So we could create stations, like a basketball station where we're rolling up a pair of socks into a ball or a beanbag. Laundry baskets are our physical education teacher best friend right now because they can be used for obstacles, or baskets for throwing. They could be used for targets. So rolling up a pair of socks is a good thing. You can use a jump rope, a hose, or a rope. That can be your balance beam where you want your students to walk on top of it to maintain balance. You could use it to go under or over, or even if you want them to jump over the jump rope, hose, or rope. These are just some ideas for an obstacle course. Another thing you could use if you wanted to be inside your apartment or home, you could use an old bed sheet and you can roll it up to almost look like a rope. That can be used for hurdles for students to go under, over, around, jumping over. There's so many ways you can use that. If you have the opportunity to go outside, if you have sidewalk, chalk is your friend. Chalk is amazing. You can have so many obstacles created for with sidewalk chalk. If you want your children to stay indoors, painter's tape. If you don't know what painter's tape, that's something you could put on the carpet or your linoleum or tile, and it won't hurt the floor. So you can create obstacles where you want your students to maybe jump forward, or a starting point or a stopping point. And that's a great way to create obstacles. So jump rope is something that is really, really inexpensive. If you have the opportunity to purchase your child a jump rope, whether they're in elementary, middle school, or high school, it's a great thing because that is one of the easiest, inexpensive way to get your cardio, your aerobic capacity up. So jump rope is an easy, quick way to increase their physical activity. You can challenge your student, your child, to a contest. That's going to be engaging if they see their parents involved in this process, or maybe even younger siblings or older siblings. So you can challenge them who can go the farthest, the fastest, the highest, the longest, anything you want. Um, it's really your chance to be as creative as possible. If you have enough people, you could also do 2 long jump ropes where you're doing stuff like double Dutch or single person in, or double people inside that jump rope. Like I said before, these are very inexpensive and they have them at the dollar store or even the Dollar Tree, jump ropes. Now, keep in mind, these jump ropes that are sold at the Dollar Tree, they're probably not fitting for a high school student that's really tall. They're typically for the elementary age, but I just want to put that out there. So another thing, this is something that teachers and parents are both really trying to do their best, but to give our students brain boosters or brain breaks throughout the day. Because we're on the laptop all day or the Chromebook or iPad all day for school, we really need to give them breaks. Not breaks where they just sit down, but breaks to get them moving. Because we're sedentary all day, we need to find ways to pair movement with their everyday activities. Here's an idea. If you choose to watch television with your children, or if they watch a show or television, you could use commercial breaks as the time that they do physical activity. Now, if you are streaming and there are no commercials, you could set your timer. So typically what I would like to do if I'm watching a show is I set my timer, and then every 10 to 15 minutes, then I'll get up and do some type of exercise. Another one is if your students are doing a long project or a long homework assignment, make sure that they take that break and allow them, if they're okay, if you're okay with them, make them take a walk. Let's take a walk as a family. I'll go with you. Let's go together. If you have a dog, it's a great time right now. Get them out, walk the dog so we can get them exercising. If you have access to steps or stairs, those can be your best friend because you can do something called step ups with your feet. So you're working out your lower legs, or you can actually climb the stairs up and down. That's a great cardiovascular activity. The last thing that I want to talk about with brain boosters is if you're fortunate enough to have what they're called fitness balls, those large balls that you can sit on. Those are really amazing to have your students sit on them, maybe during class, because A, it engages their core, and B, it allows their brain to access both sides of the brain, and it prepares them more and better for learning because it's incorporating both sides of the brain. So a fitness ball is really great. Another thing, if they're watching television or if they're doing homework, let them sit on that ball. It really does help. And then if they're it gets too easy for them, you can actually have them sit on that ball and hold one foot up. That's a challenge that they'll think is super easy, but it's actually very difficult to do. So I would challenge you as a family to do that. Another one is seasonal sporting events. If you or someone in the family is into some type of sport that is relevant, for example, the Dodgers just won. You really want to kind of, when you're watching a game or sporting event, you can create a list of movements. For example, every time somebody scores, we're going to do 5 jumping jacks as a family. Or let's say your family's into football. Every time the Rams get a penalty, we're going to do 15 sit ups. So incorporate what we're watching on TV as a family. So just an idea. Second piece, communicate with your physical education teacher to determine what they're learning in class, and maybe you can support that. If you reach out to your PE teacher, they're probably going to be really excited because they want to have that partnership between the parent and the teacher to really encourage them to be physically active at home. So that would be amazing. Here's another idea. And this is not ideal for every family. This is not ideal for every child. I just want to really recognize that. But if your neighborhood, if you're comfortable walking and biking with a family or with each other, whatever it may be, riding your bike is something that you can do in the younger grades as well as in high school. So that's something, if you're okay and comfortable doing, I would really encourage them to ride their bike and walk. Now we need to recognize that the weather's starting to change, so it's going to get a little bit colder, and when it rains, that's going to be different, of course. So the idea is to get outside, get moving as much as possible after school, and especially on the weekends. If your child is not fit, or if you're afraid that they're not fit, that's okay. Start slow, pick your favorite route, maybe, or maybe we're just going to start off walking to this point. Maybe next week we'll start and go a little bit further. And then the week after that, we're going to go a little bit further. So try to go a little bit farther each time. The second bullet is the chalk. I'm going to talk about sidewalk chalk again. This is something that actually went viral. They had a sidewalk chalk event right when the pandemic happened. So if you have some older kids, you can have the older kids create an obstacle course for the younger kids, whether it's in the neighborhood, whether it's in the community, or whether it's for your own children. Any type of obstacle course with chalk is amazing. And these kids are so creative. Let them create their own kind of canvas, if you will. So the scavenger hunt, I think, is my favorite thing to do with students. I love the scavenger hunt because you can do it outside, you can do it inside. Create an active at home scavenger hunt. Sorry about the typo. So to get your children moving and using their own problem solving skills to either solve clues or either to gather items. And if you don't want them picking up the items, that's okay too, because you can just have them spot them and make note of it. So you can use common household items to minimize cost. And I'm going to give you examples of what this would look like. But first, for example, if we're going on a walk as a family, or you can come up with a list, I want you to find a gray rock, a leaf, something yellow, something small, so on and so forth. Just random items that can be found on your walk. You may choose items that are purposely that you know are further down on the walk, and that's okay too. You can do visual items like, hey, can you see something blue? Do you see a mailbox with a number 3? Do you see a dog? Do you see a leaf that's larger than your foot? Do you see somebody riding a bicycle? And so on and so forth. If we're going to do it inside, you can do something like, can you find 3 light bulbs in the house? Can you find 4 light switches? How about 6 doors, etc., and so on and so on. So what you do is when you find those 6 doors, you have to do 6 exercises, 6 jumping jacks. When you find those 4 light switches, maybe you have to do 4 sit-ups and so on. So scavenger hunts are very easy to do because it doesn't take a lot of prep, a lot of preparation time it doesn't take. Family fitness night, this is something I think is really cool, and I would encourage you to do this. Whether you have a family of 2 or a family of 7 or 9, it doesn't matter. The idea of family fitness night is we have each family member gets to choose, 1 or 2 favorite physical activities for a family fitness night. They're going to take turns teaching and learning new activities. So we don't really want our students to just pick the same old thing because we're trying to motivate them, and we're trying to motivate them and get them engaged in new things. So I try to come up with some ideas that I think are new, that your students may or may not have tried before. Something really popular right now is something called pickleball. If you don't know what that is, but it can be played on tennis courts. I know there's tennis courts in Alhambra, that's close by. You can go to Target or Walmart and they sell pickleball paddles. And it's easier to play than tennis. But what it is a paddle sport, and you use something called a wiffle ball and pickleball paddles. And they sell them at Target, they sell them at Walmart. It's similar rules to tennis and ping pong, but it's on a smaller court. Something else you might consider is horseshoes. Horseshoes is really simple. You're underhand tossing to a target, and that's something that can be used and played with all ages. Chinese jump rope is very common with the younger grades, and that's really exciting because it's super engaging for a lot of kids. Lawn bowling, I believe that one is in San Gabriel. I can't remember, but that's something that can be done. And if you don't want to go to an organization, you can do lawn bowling at home. And if you don't want to do lawn bowling, you can do floor bowling inside your house with old water bottles. Tinikling, this is something that a lot of kids, when they're in physical education, they don't know what it is. Tinikling is actually a Filipino activity, and they used to use old sugarcane poles, and it's a rhythm thing where the students are jumping in and out of the poles, the sugarcane poles. But you could actually use Chinese jump rope, very similar to doing tinikling. Parachute activities are really common, and it's a very highly desired activity for the younger kids, but they're very expensive. So you can actually recreate parachute activities using a bed sheet. And what you do is you just toss like a beanbag on top. If you don't have a beanbag, maybe socks, roll them up like a ball, very popular. The Chinese yo-yo, the Diablo, that is something that is some kids have never even seen. So when you get something new, like a Chinese yo-yo, the kids are intrigued and they want to try it. They want to learn about it. And there are a lot of YouTube videos that show you how to do it. And it's exciting if you can share a new task together. The last one I want to talk about is something called shuttlecock. And that is demonstrated on this picture, this photograph that you can see here. It's amazing. So what they're doing is they're controlling it with their feet. And this is a really engaging activity that a lot of kids like, especially the kids that like soccer too, because it's a crossover activity. So I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to give you as the parent access to something that is just for parents and just for educators. Everybody's going to have access to this presentation, but if you click on this presentation, what it does is it takes you to this website, which is really cool. And I want to show you that it says, I'm a parent, I'm an educator, or I'm other staff. There's also a Spanish version. So if you read and speak Spanish, you could actually click on that. But as a parent, it gives you all these really cool kind of resources of what to do. So it gives you a bunch of follow along videos, but it's supposed to be directed to the parent. So I thought that was really exciting and I wanted to share that with you. So it is provided in the presentation. All you need to do is click on this and it will take you right to the website. The next one I wanted to show you is called Derby. The same thing. If you click on this, it's going to take you to the website. Derby is amazing for middle school and high school kids. So they have a workout of the day. Every day they have a new workout and it's free. So you'll see at the top, they have workouts, they have programs, challenges, running, fitness, nutrition, and so on and so forth. So what it does is it literally is going to tell you how to, it gives you follow along activities. So if you click this, it tells you different things, different routines and exercises that you can do. So follow along type of activities. And this is what I appreciate as the physical education teacher. It tells you what muscles they're targeting. So by doing those previous exercises, you're really focused on your abdominal muscles, which is your abs and core, which is really cool. So this is an activity that's easy to follow for any parent, for any middle school or high school student to follow along. And most kids are really receptive to the Derby. It's called Derby. Here's another one called Sworkit, Sworkit. This is actually something that you can watch on Apple TV, or it can be an application on your phone, your computer, or your iPad. And there are some free versions, and then there are some more, they cost a little bit of money. So they have Sworkit for kids, which is really good for your elementary kids, or they have Sworkit regular, and that's great for your middle school and high school kids. What I love about Sworkit is it gives you a timer. They're 20-second exercises, and it shows the picture of what you're supposed to do, and then it gives the kid a timer. So this is easy to follow. It's like having your own personal trainer on your phone or on your device. So another great resource. So before we switch on, I just want to clarify one more time. All of these resources, it's if you click on the page, it takes you directly to the website. So everybody will have access to this. So I'm going to show you actual lessons and actual activities that PE teachers from across the nation have created for parents. And I probably won't be able to get through all of them, but I told Heather I put a bunch because I wanted you to have access to all of them. That way you can look through them at your own leisure and see what works for your kids.
Hey, Tonya, can I interrupt for a quick second? I got a question kind of shot to me, and before we move too much further,
let's hear it.
How do we develop confidence when kids tend to compare themselves to other students' levels? So like how can parents kind of help kids meet them where they're at?
I love that question. So My biggest thing as a physical education teacher, as a parent, and all of the above, we want students to only compete against themselves. We don't want to compare them to other students, even in the classroom. As a teacher, we should not be comparing them to each other with physical education and their performance. We really shouldn't. And we're going to increase their confidence by making them more competent and more motivated. That's why if one of those three things are missing, they're probably not going to be confident. So we need to make them competent, confident, and motivated. Typically, if you're good at something, you're probably going to be confident and you're probably going to be motivated. So that's the point, to make sure we're doing all three. And we really want to encourage kids, you're only competing against yourself. So if you want to go further in your walk or further on your Derby exercises, it doesn't matter what your siblings are doing or what your classmates. Let's focus on what you can do. And
I'm
yeah.
sorry. We've got Alice here's got a question in the chat. Any tips on preventing older children from getting bored?
Yeah.
And Alice, do you mean like bored with particular activities or just kind of being couch potatoes during this time? Which I'm sure both happen, but just to clarify, both. Yeah, okay. I got it.
Yeah. So my big thing is I don't like to do typical activities because the kids have seen them before. So I like to find activities they can't say, oh, I've already done that. That's boring. Well, no, you haven't. Really? We're going to try something new that you've never even done before or never even heard of, because they're already intrigued because they've never heard of it. So that's my personal philosophy. I like to pick something that's a little bit weird or different.
So maybe research some sports or some activities. Mark mentions in the chat that they have a pickleball court at Smith Park in San Gabriel, and that's kind of cool. I did not realize that.
Pickleball is actually one of the most popular sports right now during the pandemic. And a fun fact, it's one of the most popular sports for senior citizens, but kids love it because it's easier than tennis. So especially for, I played pickleball on Sunday. So pickleball's a strange sport. I haven't played in 20 years and I'm like, I'm going to try it Sunday. But it's fun and it's different and they're sort of familiar with it because they know how to play tennis probably, or they've heard of tennis, but pickleball's a little bit strange. And
so the newness and the strangeness maybe helps with that boredom.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And one other question before we continue. Do you think there's such thing as physical? We hear a lot during the pandemic about learning loss and whether it's true or whether it's not. You know, the question is, do you think that there is learning loss in the physical literacy world?
100%, definitely. Because our brain is a muscle, right? Our body is filled with muscles, they're filled with water, and if we don't use it, we lose it. Our body is meant to move. Newton's law, a body's in motion keeps going in motion. So the more we're sitting, it really is putting us behind.
So can we regain?
Yeah, let's do it. We got to regain. Even as educators, we're really struggling right now because we're sitting all day.
Right.
So the best tips, I'm telling you, if you have the funds, get a fitness ball for your child to sit. And then when that gets too easy for them, make them use one foot or hold one foot up. And that's a challenge that they'll obtain.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Keep the questions coming in that chat, or you're welcome to just ping me individually and I'll field some of those questions as we continue.
I appreciate it, Heather.
Not at all. I put a jump rope in my Amazon shopping cart just while you were talking about that. I was like, oh, jump rope. Okay, cool.
Good,
okay,
good. So here's another full lesson for parents that a physical education teacher created with the parent in mind, and it's called Physical Education at Home. So tic-tac-toe relays. Okay, find or create 4 markers for each person, 8 total. You can use pieces of paper for your markers, pennies, whatever you want. So place tic-tac-toe board on a table or floor across the room. You could use tape or you could use chalk outside. At the same time, both people run to the board with 1 marker and place on the grid. So basically you're starting at point A, the tic-tac-toe board is at point B. You can have them run, place a marker, do an exercise, run back. You can have them skip, you can have them hop, jump, whatever you want. But this is something they know how to play tic-tac-toe, but I guarantee they've never done it this way. So just an idea to get them busy and motivated. Now, if we did tic-tac-toe relays every day, I guarantee your kids would get bored, but this is just an idea to kind of spark it. This is called balance bingo. So this is just another idea. They're a little familiar with bingo, I guarantee, but how many different ways you hold each balance for a minimum of 5 seconds, you could change that. And then you're trying to go across the board or diagonal or left to right or whatever you want to do. Try to see how many different ways you can get bingo on the board. You can also play with a partner and take turns. This is easy, no equipment, no prep. You just actually do these different moves, 5 seconds each. So here are visuals. The pictures are terrible, but it's supposed to illustrate, hey, these are things you can do with another person. Hey, can we do these different balancing acts with another person? If you're not comfortable doing this with your child, I definitely don't blame you. But if you have a sibling and they're kind of the same age, this is a great activity. Here's some more Connect 4 relays. I think this is really cool because once again, they know Connect 4. Use a pen or a pencil, crayon, or marker. Place Connect 4 board on a table or floor across the room. So you're creating this with paper, with chalk, or with tape. At the same time, both people, just like the tic-tac-toe, you can have them run from point A to point B, and then they can do their Connect 4. So very similar to the tic-tac-toe. So here's an obstacle course like I talked about at the beginning. So this is just another format. So here's some family workouts and they give you examples of how to do these. Playing card fitness. So you can actually have a Uno cards, playing cards, and you can have each suit represent something. So for example, clubs can be jumping jacks, planks, or hopping on 1 foot. You can have hearts mean squats, squat jumps, or a tree pose. So you can have them play games. So if you're playing Go Fish, if you're playing Rummy, whatever you're playing, anytime you get a certain suit, you can have them do matching exercises. Now we have something called rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors. So you can have your students play rock, paper, scissors, and guess what? If you get, if you win this way, you have to do jumping jacks. If you win another way, you have to do shoulder taps, push-ups, squats, so on and so forth. So just another way to make an easy game that the kids know how to play and incorporate some physical activity. Juggling scarves. These are actually really common if you're teaching your kids how to juggle. Juggling scarves are your first step. So if you don't have juggling scarves, you can use Kleenex. And as a parent, you're probably thinking, what? So juggling scarves are really light and they're used because you can track them in the air and they float a little bit. So a Kleenex is actually the next best thing and they're not that expensive. So you teach your students how to juggle and there are YouTube videos that show you how to do it. So just an idea. Skee ball. So how many of your younger kids have been to Chuck E. Cheese? How many of your older kids have gone to an arcade? Everybody knows how to play skee ball. So you can make your own skee ball in your apartment, your condo, or your house. So you can have, if you have laundry baskets, if you have buckets, if you have anything that can actually catch a ball, that's what you use. So the bigger ones that are closer or further away, rather, those are going to be less points because they're easier. It's a bigger target. The medium sized ones are going to be more points, and then the smallest one would be the highest points. So, skee ball, just an easy way to do this at home. There are other activities. I'm going to show you other resources because I want to get to more, but I just wanted to show you that these are possible.
We have a great conversation going on in the chat here about video game, the Just Dance.
Yes,
I don't know if you're
I love
familiar
it.
with that one, but we've got a few people playing, I guess, and finding a real great way to move with the family using
I
the
love
video
that.
game.
I love that. That Just Dance was something I used to use all the time because it's students with disabilities and students without disabilities. They can play together and really connect. I love Just Dance.
And Cindy, you're saying in the chat that you can find all the Just Dance songs and videos on YouTube for free. Poof, sorry, didn't know that. Very exciting. You've just changed my entire winter. Okay, fantastic.
Funny. Here's another bingo board. So free space. I like what they say on the free space. Wash your hands. Get it? So basically, you're playing bingo, but each square is something different to do with health, physical education, or even just mental health. Like simply complete a jigsaw puzzle or crossword puzzle or word search. That is an option. So that's pretty cool. Just getting kids, really trying to get them active and make sure their mental health as well. The other thing that I want to encourage everybody, start small. If you don't know what to do with your children, start small. Hey, we're going to do one thing a day, one small thing a day, and then maybe one bigger thing a week. That's a small step that you can do as a family, hopefully. So they have something called mind and body calendar. And once again, if you click on this calendar, it takes you to the website so you can have every calendar for every month of the year. So
You're not sharing your screen anymore, Tonya. I just want to make sure. Okay, good. I didn't know if that was deliberate or not. So
it was not. I apologize. Thank you.
Not at all. I want to see this calendar.
I apologize. Thank you all. So this calendar is mostly, this is targeting elementary students. So it's an activity every day of the month. So it's simple, it describes what it is, and in some cases, there might be a little graphic to kind of show you what it looks like. But if you click on this calendar, it actually takes you to the website so you can have it for the rest of the year. And here would be the secondary one. So obviously the activities are a little bit more age appropriate. So great starting point, one thing per day, one thing per day. This one, I just want to do a quick time check. This is probably one of my favorite things that I saw a teacher create. I did not create this. I wish I did. But this is called Around the House Fitness. Super genius. And what this person did is step one, I want you to find how many of each of the following items do you have in your home. This can be for any grade level. For the itty bitties, they may need help with writing perhaps, but I just wanted to show you. So you have your student, your child, go count how many light bulbs are in the apartment or house. Windows, doors, chairs, couches, light switches, pillows, sneakers, clocks, picture frames. Great. Now that you have all those numbers are going to correspond with all these activities. So if you have 13 light bulbs in your home, you're going to do 13 jumping jacks. If you have 4 windows, you're going to do 4 squats, and so on. Such a cool activity, really fun activity to do, and not a lot of prep work. Not a lot of prep work. Another resource that would be amazing to share with you parents, this is 10 at-home learning and movement activities. So it's almost like posters, and it shows you what to do. So this is called Clock Face Fitness. So you read the clock and perform the exercises indicated by the hour of hand. So for example, it's 3 o'clock, you're going to do 3 jumping jacks. If it's 11 o'clock, you're doing 11 butterfly stretches. So just an idea to incorporate time. So this one's called Coin Face Fitness. So add up the coins to find out how many exercises. So this is ideally for the elementary kids, but we're trying to incorporate the cognitive, what they're learning in school, and trying to get them physically active with those pieces of learning. So if they're trying to increase their math skills or their language arts skills, whatever skills they're working on, this is incorporating physical education. So very cool.
Tonya, would you please briefly discuss tips to do the activities safely so that they can prevent injuries?
Safely as far as
Well, I think many of our parents are we're not the PE teachers, right? So, and
Yeah.
what should we be looking for to make
Love it.
sure that students are sweating but not, about to break?
Love that question. So first and foremost, if you're having your child do any type of physical activity, number one thing that I like to say is make sure they have the space. So obviously move the coffee table, right? Any sharp edges, that is my number one thing. We need to make sure that they have the space. We can do it indoors safely. So you want to move all the sharp edges and the things that if they trip, they're not going to get hurt. Step 1. Step 2, if you're worried about form, that they may injure themselves because of form, like how they're moving their body. Nowadays, all you have to do is you can literally look online. For example, proper form of a push-up. There is proper form of a push-up. If you look online, it shows you how to do that. The second thing you could do, I would totally reach out to your PE teacher and say, hey, I'm working on yoga moves at home to help my student get more physically active, but I'm really not sure about the form. Can you give me help and guidance on that? And your physical education teacher will probably be over the moon excited. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to show one more resource, and that way I can kind of open it up for questions. But just to give everybody a heads up, each one of these squares has another lesson for parents at home. This one is amazing for high school students. Amazing. This is a whole activity. It's called the periodic table of body weight exercises. So the exercises on the top are easier. So as you go further down, they get more complicated. They get more sophisticated. They get more difficult. So I like this because the kids can actually decide where they want to be. Do I want to start with easy, medium, hard, or insane? So I think that's really cool. And this is an entire presentation. And you as the parent are going to be so excited because you don't have to worry about the form because it's going to show them. And it's a follow along.
Personal training module activated.
Imagine you're standing in this.
So they click on the box they want to do, and there's a video that matches and it shows them how to do it. So I think this is an amazing resource if you have a high school student or even middle school. that you want them to work on the fitness and the strength training, this is a great resource, probably one of the better ones. So with that, just for the sake of time, what I'd like to do, Heather, is just kind of open it up for questions, and I'm going to go to the final page for resources.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I actually made the presentation into a bit.ly link. Would you like me to drop that in there, or?
That's so helpful.
Oh, no problem. So what I'm dropping in there right now, parents of San Gabriel Unified, is the bit.ly link to this presentation that Tonya has so generously put together for us. So please feel free to use it, share it, and let us report back. Let us know that it's being used. We'd love to hear about it. So let's open it up for questions. And the question that actually I have for you, as well as you're thinking of something to ask Tonya, is what are you already doing with your student? What are you doing to help movement be maintained during this time of school closures? What's going on in your homes right now? So while we're waiting for some more questions to be asked of Tonya, I'd love the answer to that one in the chat box, please.
So as they're coming up with their questions, I did put 5 resources down at the end of the presentation. Number 1 is dozens and dozens of at-home fitness videos that you can just watch and see which ones you think are more appropriate for your child. The number 2 one, it's called Open Phys Ed. Open stands for Online Physical Education Network. So they did a module that was supposed to be like summer camp for at home, and they created this right after the pandemic. And then I put the CDC, they give recommendations of what should happen at home. And then the 4th one is called Action for Healthy Kids. And this is a whole guidebook of how to get parents involved and how to really bridge that conversation between the school and parents with physical activity. And lastly, Shape America. That's the website that has all those calendars. So the physical activity of the day of every monthly calendar. So those 5 resources I thought you would all benefit from.
Thank you. Although the slide we can click on, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
You said that,
Yes.
right? Wonderful.
Yes.
So Lisa's been doing ping pong and basketball and bicycling.
Love it.
And I love ping pong so much. And let's see, Mark's family, biking, walking the dog. Good, good. Family walks, of course, plus hiking. But we miss playing on playground equipment.
Love it.
Yep,
So
it's true.
Miss Lisa, if you love ping pong, you will love pickleball. So the idea of pickleball is, the best way I can describe it, it's ping pong on a bigger court. So the court is smaller than tennis, but it's this very similar rules to ping pong because
And did you say it used a wiffle ball?
Yeah.
So it moves a little slower. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So that's
Interesting.
why students, they have a lot more success. So they feel more confident and competent because the ball moves slower than a tennis ball. Yeah. So any other questions or comments, please feel free to unmute yourself, put it in the chat box or whatever you would like to ask me. Sounds fun. Yay. All right. Well, if there's no further questions or if there's something you think of, honestly, the best advice I could give you is feel free to reach out. And Heather knows how to get a hold of me, and we are going to do our best to make sure we answer those questions. So have fun, explore the resources as much as you can. And we hope that you find at least something that can engage you and your children and get them more physically active. So kudos to you parents. What a brilliant idea. I will tell you, this is the first time a parent organization has ever requested this. So it makes me super happy. Yay, San Gabriel. way to go, San Gabriel parents. Thank you so much. I really,
Tonya, thank you so much for this evening. I know I've learned a lot as a parent, and I can see the enthusiasm in the chat now. So I just thank you so much for spending your evening with us. And parents, thank you for so much for spending another evening with us in the Parents as Partners series. Once again, if you've got questions for Tonya, please reach out. We'll make sure she gets those questions and we'll get answers for you. And also, if you've got other ideas for this series, all you need to do is reach out to me. I'm Heather Wolpert-Guerin, 21st Century Learning and PD Coordinator for San Gabriel, and it is always an honor and a pleasure to serve you and your students. Have a wonderful evening. Good, good, good. And remember, the recording will be posted on that Parents as Partners website. So that'll be available within about 24 to 48 hours. I try to get that going as soon as I can. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. You're so welcome. And thank you, Miss Yolanda. Thank you, Miss Winnie. Appreciate your help tonight.
thank you all. Yolanda, Winnie, thank you. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast.
Oh, we got thumbs up from Winnie. Awesome. Excellent. Double thumbs up from Yolanda.
Have a good night,
Fantastic.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Goodbye, Yolanda. Take care, everybody. I'm going to be shutting down here in just a second. Please let me know if there's anything else you need and have a wonderful, wonderful evening.